Good morning, church.
Good morning.
Woo, y'all. Never did I ever imagine that I'll be standing before you on a Sunday morning delivering a Sunday morning service. But God works in mysterious ways. And don't laugh too hard, because the antics that I pulled as a child gave me the content that may lead to not only your child's breakthrough, but your breakthrough as well. So the first lesson for this morning conversation is that it's not how you start, but it's how you end. Young people, you cannot go back in time and undo things that have already been done. You can't take back words that have already been said. You can't go back in the academic school year and retake a test that you felt that you can do better on. The only thing that you can do at this point is learn from your past mistakes and vow to yourself that you would take the affirmative steps to become a better version of yourself. And use your past mistakes as an inspiration to the younger people who are coming up behind you. So that brings me to my theme for this morning. And my theme for this morning is full circle. A lot of people do not know this about me, but as a young child, I was diagnosed with a speech impediment. And as a result of that diagnosis, I had to meet with a speech specialist on average of about 3 to 4 times a week. As a result of that diagnosis, I hated public speaking. Whether it was being called on in class or having to speak in front of a crowd, I ran from it. But the thing about it is that when I was called on to speak publicly, I would find someone who was inspirational and I would attempt to imitate them. And that would be what I would do to calm my nerves. And sometimes, even as a lawyer, those nerves still creep up and I find someone who I wanted to emulate. As I was preparing for this morning's conversation, I said, Lord, who should I emulate? Because I want this message to be impactful, inspirational. And I thought to myself, I could start off this morning's conversation with an old Mother Ophelia Burrell's prayer that started off with, Father, I stretch my hands out to thee. No other help that I know. But God said to me, Trina, do you normally pray to me like that? I said, fair enough. Then I thought to myself, I could pull an old elder Robert Walker number, right? I can slap the stand and I can hit my head a couple times when I want to emphasize a point, right? But then God said to me, Trina, is your hair secure enough for that? I said, fair enough, God. Then I said I could emulate the late, great Bishop Eli Ratcliffe Jr. I could put on my reading glasses and give you the Bishop Eli Ratcliffe Jr. stare. But God said, Trina, you be you and allow me to move through you. So that brings me to my second lesson, and this is for young people. You do not have to be a carbon copy of someone else. God created you to be unique. And every single one of you in this room possess a special gift. It is up to you to figure out what that gift is, how you can tap into that gift, and how you can use that gift to be a service to someone else. Now, as an attorney, I'm often asked, did I always know that I wanted to be a lawyer? My response is no. But I did know that whatever occupation I chose, it would be to be of service to someone else. How did I know that? Because that is the foundation that was established for me by my parents. My mother, Sister Carolyn Smith, raise your hand. Payback, right? She served as the president of the usher board for a little under 40 years. So what does that mean? That means that from the time I was age 4 until I was about 18 years old, every third Sunday, I was an usher. You would find me either on that back door in the middle aisle or either on the left or the right side corner of the church. And as an usher, I took my job serious. It did not matter how much taller you were than I was, how much wider you were than I was, you could not get past me unless I moved. And being an usher taught me how to serve and how to lead. My father, Brother Ronnie Smith, Daddy, raise your hand. He served as the president of the Pastor Aid Committee for over a decade. And in addition to that, he served as a trustee board member. So what does that mean? That means that I was an honorary member of the Pastor Aid Committee, and I was an honorary trustee member. Because when I used to get in trouble in school, it wasn't chilling at the house, it was coming down to the church and helping my father make repairs to the church. One of the duties of the Pastor Aid Committee involved hosting various events for the pastor, whether it was a banquet here at the church or at local community centers. And as an honorary member, I not only assisted with the food prep, I not only assisted with the decorations, I assisted with making sure that everyone was okay during their meals. Being an honorary member of the Pastor Aid Committee and the trustee board taught me humility. My late grandmother, Sister Rosalie Thorpe, she served as the president of the junior choir. And she served in that role for over 2 decades. So that meant every second Sunday from the age of about 3 until I was 21, I was in that choir stand. Being a junior choir member taught me the gift of praise and worship. That was paramount in my development, not only as an adult, but as a lawyer, because when I reached those dark hours, when I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone, and no one would pick up the phone, and I didn't want to bother God with my problems, because I'm like, God, with everything else that's going on in the world, my issues are minute. I would play some of those old songs that I used to sing second Sunday, and that would be the only thing that would pull me out of that depressed state. So the next lesson, young people and everyone, find 2 to 3 inspirational songs and add them to your playlist, because that will help you get through some of your darkest hours when you do not have the words to say. I also remember as a youngster attending this church, we did this thing called Youth Call to Worship. And with Youth Call to Worship, it was a mini service for young people. And after they received an inspirational message, all the youngsters had to say a Bible verse. One of my favorite Bible verses comes from Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. It was also a song that was sung by the Eli Ratcliffe Singers. And a summation of those verses and that song is, write the vision and make it plain. It was not until I was in my early 20s that I realized the impact that that song and those Bible verses had on my life. Which brings me to my next lesson, and this is for the parents, grandparents, aunties, and uncles. It is not enough to just bring your kids to church. You have to get them active in the church. Why? Because that instills a sense of belongingness here in this church. It would teach them responsibility. But for you parents, grandparents, aunties, and uncles, it will help you develop a village to provide your child with a protective shield so that the church can save them before the streets get their hands on them. So going back to my favorite scriptures and the why behind the what. As a young child, my mother and I would often travel to New York every Thanksgiving to visit my maternal grandmother, the late great Mother Harriet Langston. During one of those visits, she asked me, because I was being a little mouthy, what did I want to do with my life? I said, I don't know. She said, sit there at the kitchen table and figure it out. Now, I thought that I could win this little battle, but I didn't know that my grandmother was prepared for that war. And after about 2 or 3 hours, I finally said, okay, Grandma, I want to be a lawyer because I like to argue. And her response to me was, what does it take to be a lawyer? I said, well, after high school, you have to go to college for 4 years, and then law school for 3 years, and then take a little test. It's called a bar. And then once you pass that test, you become a lawyer. She said, great. Now write out your life plan. I said, okay. 2002, roughly about the age of 17, I should be graduating from high school. Then in 2002, I should be attending a college. I should be finished with that college in about 2006. Then law school is 3 years. I should be done with that in 2009. I'm going to sit for the bar in 2009. I'm going to become a lawyer in 2009. I'm going to practice law for about 20 years, and then I'm going to be a judge. Husbands and kids was somewhere on that list, not sure where. To date, everything that I wrote down that I said I was going to do, I did it in the year and at the age that I said I was going to do it. Now, I did get off track because I did, in fact, graduate from William G. Enloe High School in Raleigh in 2002. I did start North Carolina Central University in 2002. In 2005, when I was about to receive my first Bachelor's of Science degree, I met with my advisor, and he asked me what was I going to do. And I said, I want to be a juvenile probation officer. And he said to me, no, ma'am. I said, why? He looked at me, he looked at my grades, he looked at me, he looked at my grades. He said, Ms. Smith, you are in the top 5% of your graduating class. He said, I understand that you think you want to be a juvenile probation officer, but I want you to test out academia first and give it a real shot. And then after you test out academia, if you didn't at that point want to be a juvenile probation officer, you will have my blessing. But as of right now, you do not. And I'm not signing off on this graduation slip. See, young people, sometimes God will put living angels on earth to get you right back on track. And Dr. Wendell Andrews was my angel on earth that got me right back on track. Because of his belief in me, I stayed in school an additional year and received my second Bachelor's of Science degree, and I got back on that ordained path that God had established for me. So the lesson behind that is decide what you want to do with your life. And then you research the steps that you need to take to reach that goal. The steps that you need to take to reach that goal should be very intentional, and it should be very specific. You have to write that vision and make it so plain. And when I graduated in 2009 and received the pass letter the same year and was sworn in Wake County, my heart smiled when I saw not only my family present, but I saw the members of my church village present at my swearing-in ceremony. And not only were they present at my swearing-in ceremony, they were present at all of my graduation banquets. Members like Sister Belinda McCoy, Sister Deborah Hunter, Mott, the Foster family, the Ratcliffe family. This is why involving your children in the church is paramount for their development. And now I stand before you today in my 14th year as an attorney. And remember, I said that my speech impediment as a child had me fearful of using my voice. It was not until I was in my 20s that I realized that my voice was that gift that was given to me by God. My impediment turned gift has allowed me to represent over 800 families in 29 different North Carolina counties. And guess what? Your girl is bad in the courtroom because I got a 98.8% success rate. That impediment turned gift has afforded me the opportunity to travel from coast to coast, gracing stages in front of thousands of people and inspiring them to tap into their gifts that they're sitting on. My impediment turned gift afforded me an opportunity to return back to the North Carolina Central University School of Law as not only a law school professor, but a clinical director and supervising attorney of one of the most demanding clinics in this country. But most importantly, my impediment turned gift allowed me to come back home to be here with you this morning. The place where my foundation was established, the first place where I learned to overcome my fears of public speaking, to experience this full circle moment with you today. Thank you.
Lincoln Park Holiness Church is about loving people and helping community. Our main objective is winning souls. You are welcome to partner with us or help sponsor this ministry and broadcast with a donation. Please visit our website at lincolnparkchurch.com and click the Let's Give tab at the top of the screen. Feel free to leave comments. You can also download the Givelify app on your mobile phone and look for Lincoln Park Church. Cash App, hashtag Lincoln Park CRF. We are located at 13 Heath Street in Raleigh, North Carolina. God bless you, and we look forward to you joining us next week on NFI Radio and Catch the Wave from the #1 radio station